Hey, it's Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo, and it's time for another week in review, covering everything that happened last week, what's coming up today, and then a few quick notes about what's coming up next week. And so, for last week, starting with Saturday, we had a review for Hello Neighbor, Nova Luna, and Dwellings of Eldervale. Hello Neighbor is a light little hidden role game, kind of in the genre of One Night Ultimate Werewolf or The Resistance. It is a game that I think has its place as a good entry point to people in the hobby, especially for those who are familiar with the Hello Neighbor video game and might get pulled in from that sense. For myself, I don't know if it did enough things new that I feel the need to keep it in my collection. It's totally fine. I enjoyed every play I had of it, but also I wouldn't pick it in comparison to other hidden role games I personally own. And then we had Nova Luna. Nova Luna is by Uwe Rosenberg. It is going to be kind of a spiritual successor to Patchwork, not exactly the same, but it has similar elements and it falls into the same weight class and general, gateway appeal or whatnot. Solid game. I did a review together with Rina, my wife, and we both enjoyed it. It's a solid game. It does not winning any major awards in my collection, won't be in any top 50 or anything like that, but a solid game to add to the collection, one that I expect to be around for quite some time. It falls into that, hey, we have 20 minutes, you want to play a light little puzzly game. So Nova Luna is a game I do recommend, and, well, I like that. You can check out the review from last Saturday. And then finally is Dwellings of Eldervale, a game that I feel like I'm missing something on, because it has all the game mechanics that, in theory, I should love. Everything about the game, in theory, is exactly what I love, which, that in itself wouldn't surprise me. The nature of life is that sometimes games should be good, but they aren't. But where Dwellings has me confused is so many other people do love that game. Many people whose opinions I respect love it both as a solo game and as a multiplayer experience. And the amount of times I've seen it on people's top 10s or whatever, it's all over the place in terms of people loving the game. And for myself, I thought it was okay. I would never turn down a game, but after giving it a few plays, I just realized that we had one play that was like, oh, this is a really good game, and every other play was, this is good, and it should be better, but it wasn't for us, for at least for myself, for our game group, or whatnot. Dwellings of Eldervale, I would say if you like that genre, given the slew of other positive opinions out there, I would recommend picking it up, putting it on your wish list, or whatnot. For myself, solid game, not one that I'm keeping. That area, the area control area of my collection is just too heavily contested in games that I really do love as opposed to just liking. And so Dwellings of Eldervale is sadly leaving my collection. Which brings us to Sunday. Sunday was a live Q&A, which I enjoyed. I always enjoy the Q&As. I feel they're a little more personal, a little more interaction. We're actually going to have 2 Q&As coming up shortly, sooner than they usually are. I'll have those announcements at the end of this video, as always, timestamps down below. But yeah, nothing specific, no specific highlights of the Q&A. I don't remember anything as being particularly, different or whatever, but Q&A. I answered questions, did that for a while, and then went back to life. Monday had to back or not to back. This coming Monday will probably not have one. Again, just the nature of Kickstarter being significantly lighter this December. We're alternating weeks until things get busy enough to have a weekly video of that. But this past Monday, we did have a to back or not to back. The highlights there are probably going to be Vindication Chronicles and ISS Vanguard, just because those are the 2 big names we actually have in December. Everything else falls into the smaller category. Not necessarily bad games, but just smaller in their scope. Although I did back Ugly Griffin in, which technically was it was smaller, but it falls into the Button Shy category of games, which I tend to be a bit of a sucker for, especially if I believe it will be one of the ones that I do like from their collection. They have a lot of games. Button Shy has a lot of games, some better than others, obviously, the nature of games, but this fell into this has been designed by Scott Alms, which gives it a certain degree of notoriety or whatever have you. I'm going on. Anyways, Monday was to back or not to back. Tuesday brought us 10 board games that I don't want to play again. It's always interesting because these negative videos tend to do better than positive videos, which I don't like that about this space. Don't get me wrong, I will always put out negative content here and there, but I don't do it, I specifically keep it limited in how often I do it, because I don't want to be that guy who's always complaining about things, always criticizing things, always whatever. I think there's a fine line between being critical and being negative. I am fine being critical. I don't ever want to be negative, if that makes sense. And it bothers me. It genuinely bothers me that the videos that tend to do the best on the channel or on channels in general are those that are negative. People are drawn in by negative content, and so I specifically space it out. I will do it here and there because I find it different. I find it interesting. I don't mind having a video where I talk about 10 games I won't play again. I don't mind having those conversations. I will have more like those in the future. And I have one coming up soon, the 10 worst games in my collection, which even that is not really negative because they're in my collection. They're the 10 worst games in terms of games I constantly look at and think I should get rid of. But yeah, I always will have some form of negative content, but expect it to be infrequent, at least in comparison to everything else I do, because like I said, fine line between being critical and negative, and I want to be sure that I'm on the right side of that line. From there, we have Wednesday. Wednesday had a Play This, Not That with ISS versus Etherfields. Spoiler alert in case you didn't watch it. I like both the games. Both those games are currently staying in my collection. I expect that I will finish the campaign on both. Obviously, ISS is a year out, so I have no idea how that will actually play out. But at the end of the day, I prefer ISS Vanguard, and I went into why in the video. Both have a lot of solids going for it, but ISS Vanguard had some extra things that were going for it versus Etherfields does have some complaints. If you watch my Etherfields review from like 2 weeks back or whatever it was, that was a game that I really did like, but I do have valid complaints, or not valid. I have complaints against Etherfields, and even there are many other reviewers who did not like the game, and I think we all have the same complaints. We just walked away with different end results as to whether we liked it or not. Thursday brought us my top 50 games of all time. So this Thursday was the first of 5 videos where I go through my top 50 games of all time as of 2020. The first one went up this Thursday. Next one will be going up next Thursday. I'll be trying to aim for every single Thursday until the list is done, so 5 weeks, I guess. But we'll see. I mean, things always do get moved around, so we'll see how that plays out. But in theory, I'm aiming for one video every Thursday until the list is done. I like ranking games. I like going through it. Last time I did this was, well, last year, where I only did my top 20. There's a lot of good games. A lot of good games have been added to these lists over the past, I think, if I recall correctly, there were 12 games in my top 50 that are new to me as of 2020. Not necessarily 2020 games, but new to me as of 2020. In general, I do fall a little bit into Cult of the New. I have things that stick around for a long, long time. Cyclades, which you can see on the table, has been in my collection for who knows how long, a very long time. And in my top 50, there are many games that have been around for years and years, but there also will always be games that are new, and sometimes they'll stay there, sometimes they'll filter down after a year. Either way, that's the nature of these lists. From there we have Friday, where Friday was Christmas, and so I just decided to put out a different type of video entirely because I have no idea who's actually watching YouTube videos on Christmas. I'm sure a lot of people, but I'm also sure less. And so I put out my top 10 favorite TV shows, which is something that why not? And I plan on doing more videos along those lines here and there. I plan on doing my top 10 favorite books, movies, video games, who knows what, foods, I don't know. Whatever I can think of at some point. I think that these types of videos that aren't board game related at all are interesting in the sense that, speaking for myself and how I feel about other content creators, I like getting that peek into people's lives. I like getting that little interesting note of, ooh, Tom Vassell likes these 10 movies or whatnot. In fact, there's a show that I didn't put on my list, but it's the Everything Goes Wrong show that I found out about because of Tom Vassell, which I appreciated. So I like getting those sneak peeks into people's lives, and, well, I mean, this would be one of those into mine. So that was Friday, my top 10 favorite TV shows. And which brings us to Saturday, today. Obviously, there's this video at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and 2 hours from when this video went up. There will be a GPS, Sequoia, and Mountain Goats review with my daughter, with Ricky Radcliffe. We did all 3 of them together in one video, going over the highs and lows, and you can watch that later. And then at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 4 hours from this video, it's going to be my Kingdom Rush review, which, well, that is going to be, I'm not going to talk about it now because then why would you watch the video? So go ahead and watch that video. Kingdom Rush, it's well, yeah, I'm not going to say anything. Zip, nothing, nada. Past that, upcoming this week, Friday, New Year's Day. I think Friday is January 1st. So January 1st on Friday, 10 a.m., I will be doing a live stream together with my wife. So it's just me, the two of us in front of a camera. Ask whatever questions you want. This is the opportunity to, I don't know, ask her stuff about what it's like to be married to a gaming addict. I mean, she likes games, don't get me wrong. She definitely likes games, but there's liking games and there's liking games, and I'm definitely the other liking games. She likes them a lot. I mean, you saw her top 10 list, or if you haven't, you should watch her top 10 list. But either way, there'll be a video with the two of us on camera, and most questions I assume will be to her because you've already asked me a bunch of questions. It's far less interesting. And then past that, next week Sunday, and this is not certain because this is supposed to be this week Sunday, but it already got pushed off. Next week Sunday, I will likely be doing a live stream together with Quacklope in person. Basically, I will be traveling down to visit him. It was supposed to be this Sunday. It was actually pushed off till next week. To some extent, it will be very ISS Vanguard and Etherfields. Well, more ISS Vanguard focused. So anyone who has any questions live about whatever it is, by all means. I mean, again, I know some people are going to be sick of ISS content. I understand that, completely get it. At the same time, when you have a Kickstarter that has 15,000 backers with another 5,000 coming, and lots of people having more questions or whatever, at the end of the day, there's a certain amount of focus on that content. And ISS Vanguard in particular, because of the whole nature of the ship phase, because of the recent Awakened Realms reviews around Etherfields, there's more attention than usual around that. I mean, it does well. And at the end of the day, I talk about things that I like and do well. That hybrid of things is good. So there will hopefully be a Q&A next Sunday. That is obviously subject to change. Anything, it's hard enough to plan out a week, let alone going even further than that. And so that has been your week in review. This one is just over 10 minutes. Not bad. We kept it pretty solid, pretty tight. And with that, I will wrap it up before I drag it on for another 2 minutes talking about absolutely nothing. Stay tuned for the rest of the day. Check out the videos, and I will see you throughout the week. Until next time, as always, I am Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo, and have a good one.